Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Tonight, turn down the noise of the day and focus on the rest with AGZ, the nightly drink for winding down and resting up. New from AG1. AGZ supports your body's natural sleep cycle with clinically studied key herbs, adaptogens, and minerals in amounts supported by research. And no melatonin, helping you wake feeling rested. Wind down, rest up with AGZ. Learn more at drinkagz.com.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today I'm going to talk about dating an avoidant person and when you should cut and run, and what happens if you're married to an avoidant person. Obviously, I talk about attachment a lot. I have other podcast episodes, such as one on avoidant wives, one on avoidant husbands. But let's really talk about what it's like to be dating somebody with avoidant attachment, because a lot of my people are divorced. A lot of my listeners and followers are divorced and dating. And some are even dating for the first time, although usually it skews older who listens to me. And also, some people want to try to understand what happened early in the relationship, so that it's so toxic to say, oh, I didn't know, there were no red flags, because that's like the bait and switch idea. And there were always red flags. You just didn't know enough about the world as a younger person, and even now. And you were in the honeymoon stage yourself and drunk on new love. But if you don't see the red flags that were there in retrospect, then you blame your partner for being who they always really were. And you say things like, oh, they were narcissists, and, they were sociopaths, and they bait and switch me, and it was conscious and premeditated, it's a Lifetime movie, and all this stuff that, 99 times out of 100 is not real. And before we get to that, please do subscribe. There's over 200 subscriber episodes now. And the most recent was Own Your Own Shit. And that is self-explanatory and a good wake-up call. And there are plenty of others that are awesome. And that's helping my business. So you're supporting Dr. Psych Mom there if you subscribe. Okay, so, and I do want to tell you that I now have a sex therapist at the practice, Dr. Brittany Trexler. And she's awesome. She's licensed in Maryland, Virginia, and Florida, and she deals with vaginismus and ED and anorgasmia and premature ejaculation and couples with libido disparity and lack of arousal, just everything. So check her out. Okay, so back to the avoidant partner when dating. So the avoidant partners when dating, they're very independent. And so they really prioritize friends and hobbies and work. And if they don't have something else to do, then they'll see you. And that's pretty much true. I mean, they want to have sex, they want to be close, they like you, they want to hang out, but they don't need you. They often have stated that they don't like to need anybody, and they don't think that needing people is good or real. They say things like, I want to be wanted, not needed. They say things like, I'm fine on my own, and I'm very independent, and they talk a lot about their interests. They talk a lot about their plans, and it's always I, so they don't say we. Avoidant partners usually have to be dragged into relationships, quite honestly. They in the honeymoon stage, obviously everybody's better. Women are more sexual, men are more romantic. That's no exception here. And women are more romantic and men are more sexual. I mean, everybody's just drunk on new love. That's how our species perpetuates, as I say constantly, because it's true. And the avoidant partner, they are more in love, but the reality is, compared to other people, they don't make plans. They don't talk as much about the future. Their job and their career and their hobbies and their friends do come first. Your plans with them are around other plans that they have. Now, of course, they want to hang out. The ideal for them is when they can double dip and they could have like a friend group because it's always, with the avoidant, it's usually a group. It's not like a best friend or something because it's too intimate, the best friend. And so it's like if you come to hang out with their friends, then that's great. That's double dipping. Nobody's asking for too much intimacy or intensity, and the person gets to do everything they want to do at once. They usually don't hang out with you super much if they're in a group, and that's something that preoccupied attachment partners will get upset about, but that's their ideal. Or like you start to do their hobby, and so they get to do what they want to do, plus you're there. And so at first, this can seem like, oh, they really want to include me in their life. They don't really want to include you in their life. They want to assuage you. You want to be together. They love you, so they want to not make you unhappy by choosing to do the activity over you. So a best case scenario is you doing the activity. But if you didn't do the activity and you were okay not being with them, that would be equally good, except of course, if you're very good at the activity. So if they like CrossFit and then you also love CrossFit and you're both so good at CrossFit and you talk about CrossFit, great. Because avoidant people also love to talk about their hobbies because it's not feelings. So they like to talk about anything that involves facts over feelings because they're much more comfortable with that. As I've discussed many times, the type of upbringing that contributes to avoidant attachment, although everything also has a genetic component, but the type of upbringing is one where feelings are not discussed very much. And so when you meet their family, that's another time to think, oh, what's going on here? Do these people talk on a deep level? Do they talk about feelings? What does the parents' relationship look like? Are the parents kind of having parallel lives, or is one pursuing the other one that's always golfing? Or the woman's always going on trips with her girlfriends and he seems to be lonely? Because that is a dynamic that your avoidant partner has seen growing up, and one that will probably then be replicated. Because as I have a podcast, look at your partner's parents to see how they'll treat you, because it only makes sense. That is their template. And so the person who's avoidant attachment, they want to be with you, but ideally you would just be together when you both felt like it magically, and then the rest of the time you wouldn't. So it's interesting. It's like the equivalent of spontaneous versus responsive desire. They don't want to hang out and then it gets better. If they're not in the mood to hang out, they don't want to hang out. Just like when women think that they're supposed to experience spontaneous desire in perpetuity over the course of the relationship, and if they don't, then there's no way for them to get in the mood. Well, then guess what? You're not going to have sex, after the honeymoon stage fades, because they're not going to have responsive desire most of the time, especially as they get older. And so the avoidant attachment person expects to have spontaneous desire to hang out, and if they don't, which is most of the time, then they don't have this idea that the relationship should require a certain amount of hanging out. They don't think about it like that, and they don't do it with their kids either, by the way. So with their kids, they don't think like, oh, like I should just be around, like I want to hang out in the house because my kids are in the house, and then maybe we'll end up hanging out together and they should know that I'm here to hang out. No, they think the kids have activities, I have activities, if we hang out, we hang out, if not, not. And frequently, people who are in this pursuer-distancer, preoccupied avoidant marriage end up fighting about the kids, but the kids are a proxy variable. So like the woman with preoccupied attachment will say, you don't give the kids enough attention. Meanwhile, the kids are fine. They think, oh, daddy just has a lot of hobbies. And she is trying to say, you don't spend enough time with me. Now, avoidant attachment people could be excellent parents, right? They don't talk a lot about feelings, but the kids know that they love them. In this generation, they say, I love you. They didn't used to. Not as many people used to say, I love you at all. But now they do, and they take the kids to their hobbies. That's their biggest thing, is making sure the kids get to their extracurriculars, because they could deeply understand how hobbies come first, and interests come first. So they could be really into that. And if they get the child into their own hobby, then it's ideal because then they could do what they want and the child could do what they want. Avoidant attachment people, they want to do what they want. And if you go back into dating or you're thinking about this in regards to somebody that you're currently dating, you could see what they want comes first. And they think that that's obvious and that what you want should come first for you. And if those things happen to overlap, awesome. That's a happy accident. And if they don't, then you should obviously just go do what you individually want to do. So if you like going to the same concerts because you like the same music, then you should go together. But otherwise, they should go to a concert they like with their friends. You should go to a concert you like with your friends. And this is the avoidant attachment person, always gives gifts that don't have to do with them. I've seen this happen so many times. It always hurts the preoccupied attachment partner's feelings. So like, getting you, they'll get the person concert tickets, let's say, to something they wouldn't go to and say, take your friend. And then meanwhile, the preoccupied person is feeling like, why don't you want to spend time with me? And the avoidant attachment person is feeling like, man, this is a great gift. I wish you would do this for me, because you have my best interest at heart and my interest is doing what I like. There's not a lot of growth for avoidant attachment people in terms of adding interests based on what other people like, whereas secure and preoccupied people usually do that. That's how they get new interests, is somebody that they like hanging out with has an interest. So since they want to hang out with that person, then they start doing that interest, right? But avoidant people, they have to like the interest first. So you can see how this manifests in the sexual and romantic sphere in the beginning. Everybody's drunk on new love, so the interest that you have in common is sex. Sex and romance and making out and holding hands. That feels really good. Releases a lot of dopamine. And so that is the thing that you both like to do. But in terms of later on, the avoidant person, they don't feel like hanging out like that as much, so they just don't, They just don't do that anymore. Now, an avoidant man will still like to have sex, so he still wants to have sex. And then when she says, but I don't feel emotionally close, he thinks, what kind of bullshit is this? The reason I want to have sex is because I like sex, So she acted like she wanted sex before. So what was that bullshit? She doesn't want sex now. They could usually understand if it's like pregnancy or she's going to get her period or menopause. They can usually understand. They may not like it, but it really fits with the avoidant paradigm. Okay, well, she does not have any more drive. So I guess if I didn't have any more drive, I also would not like sex, and the avoidant men are more likely to cheat, by the way, and preoccupied women are more likely to cheat. Avoidant men for sex, preoccupied women for love, right? And so the reality is that when the avoidant man can understand that she has no sex drive, then he may leave or he may cheat or he may just be an asshole, but he can get it. He can intellectually understand it because he doesn't do what he doesn't want to do. But the preoccupied attachment woman, when the avoidant man doesn't want romance anymore, she feels like, why wouldn't he try to be with me even if he doesn't love dinner dates? Because he wants to hang out with me and make me happy. Why doesn't it make him happy to make me happy? And I guess that is the real, that's the real difference, is that so there's so many preoccupied attachment women. They are the ones who read about responsive desire. They are the ones who really do use sex to get closeness, quite honestly. They may like sex too, but they are the ones who think, oh, how long has it been since we had sex? We should have sex. I want to be in a happy marriage. I want to be in a close marriage. Avoidant women, if they don't have a drive, they are like the avoidant men I just said. They just don't care anymore. They say, why would my partner want me to do anything I don't want to do? Like, full stop. But the preoccupied attachment woman, at least until she gets fully disillusioned, and I have a podcast on this, in midlife, women stop being the pursuer. She is having sex that she doesn't want to have. She is letting responsive desire kick in, and she is the one that says, why doesn't it make him happy to make me happy with romance? Why isn't he remembering these little things that I say make me happy, et cetera, et cetera? And this happens right from the beginning. This is not only in marriage. Even in the earliest honeymoon stage, the pursuer will remember, and you may notice if this is your situation and you're dating, you're doing more. You're the emotional engine of the relationship, and they are coming along or not, and you're already having disagreements about how often you hang out, who's the priority. And is it your friends? Is it your work? Is it me? And you can see there is like almost nobody that has a relationship of any length. Like, we're not talking about like just a couple months, you get pregnant, then you get married, right? But if you've been together for at least like a year or something, and you're with somebody who's avoidant, even earlier, even like the first 6 months, there's already been times where you feel like they are choosing everything else that isn't you. And why would you be drawn to this dynamic? It's what you grew up with. You grew up with a caregiver who did not give consistent affection, where you felt that you had to work for the affection. You had to work for the connection. And sometimes it was there and sometimes it wasn't, and you were always trying and trying. So this makes sense to you. But you don't have to be in that kind of dynamic. If you're dating somebody like this, you should get into therapy and say, why am I in something where I have to worry if somebody loves me? Also, what am I doing? Am I being like extremely intrusive and irritating, honestly, as a preoccupied attachment person that makes securely attached men who may be more forthcoming and loving not like me, even in the first couple dates? Am I controlling? Am I difficult? Because many preoccupied attachment people are. So basically the avoidant men are what's left, because the securely attached people don't want to be with somebody preoccupied, and that's irrespective of gender. If you're already in this kind of relationship, you should get into couples therapy to see if you can rework the dynamic such that both people can understand the origin of their attachment issues, see and heal some of the empathic ruptures, and understand each other in a different way where there's a lot less blaming and a lot more owning of the fact that this is a very different style, and it's something that's going to take work from both people to understand one another and reshape the dance so that your kids don't see it and pass it on, and then it just goes on in perpetuity forever. So if you've been saying, oh, I never knew my partner was avoiding attachment, think deeply about this. I'm sure, I would guess in 99% of cases that some of the stuff that I've said will resonate with you, and that can make you see it different. Like, wow, I didn't see what it really was, but it makes sense. This person had no malicious intent. They think differently about the role of a relationship. It isn't central to them. And they were kind of saying that from the beginning. All right, guys, thank you for listening. And I hope this was useful to you. And I will talk to y'all soon. As always, if you need a therapist or a coach, reach out to us at bestlifebehavioralhealth.com.